Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. My name is Ali. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about my top albums of all time. So I was kind of hesitant to do this video because it's kind of been on my radar for a while, but I feel like this list is kind of always changing and I get obsessed with different things at different times, and I didn't know how to exactly do it because I was looking at my stats on Spotify and I'm like, I rarely ever listen to this album, but yet it's still like number 3 of my most played album of all time. So I'm just going to be going through this list and talking about some of the albums on the list, talking about if I would listen to this today, if I wouldn't, why it has so many streams on this list. I think the whole inspiration for this video was I was listening to Emma Chamberlain's video about her top albums, and I was like, I wonder if we have any similarities, if I could talk about it on my YouTube and see if maybe we have a similar taste, but turns out we don't. I think there were like 3 albums that I had listened to and the rest I hadn't just listened to at all, which is crazy because like those albums mean so much to her, but I hadn't heard of them before. So I'm not saying it's a good or a bad thing. I'm just saying it's just wild how much music we have available to us. Number 1 is Lover. And I think the reason Lover is there because of when the Eras tour was happening, I was just listening to Cruel Summer so much. Like, it's crazy. I think stats.fm is great. It's a great tool to have, but you have to know that like it's not accounting like if you're listening to the whole album on repeat. It's just taking in like what songs off the album are you listening to and how many times you're listening to it. So number 1 is Lover, but I think Lover as a whole album isn't my favorite anymore, and it may have been at one point. I'm gonna like tie in 2 different albums here, Folklore and Midnights. These are some of my top favorites of all time. Midnights is this synth pop album that is just incredible. I think it's one of Taylor's best work ever. And then I think Folklore is another genre shift that Taylor did that she just did so beautifully. And I think those 2 albums do deserve a spot in my top albums. So we're gonna say 2 of the 5 that I'm talking about today are Folklore and Midnights. I think Folklore just came out at the right time. We were all like dealing with, the pandemic, and we were all in lockdown, and it just encapsulated that moment in time so well and so beautifully. And it's crazy when an artist just has, I'm not saying Taylor wasn't busy when she wrote this album, but I am saying like the whole world just had this moment to sit down with music and write music, and I think something beautiful really did come out of that. The Record by Boy Genius. This record was crazy. Like it just, sometimes the more people you get involved in an album, it can get kind of confusing because you're like, where's the direction of this album? But when it is done very, very well, you get albums like The Record. And I think all 3 of them had their moment to shine on The Record, and I think it was just beautifully done. I still listen to this album just as much today, and I love that they're all 3 doing their own thing. Like I just went to go see Lucy Dacus on tour, but I do miss Boy Genius Summer. If you know what I mean, you know what I mean. The Record is still high up there, and I would still definitely listen to that today. With the Taylor stuff, I don't know. I'm kind of branching away from Taylor. It's not that I didn't like Tortured Poets Department. It was just kind of like, I need a breath of fresh air from Taylor, because the hype up until like the Eras tour, it was a lot. Number 4 is Heard It in a Past Life by Maggie Rogers. I did not appreciate this album as much when it first blew up and it was really big, because I think Maggie Rogers was in the shadow of Billie Eilish for a really long time. Billie Eilish won the Grammy, for Best New Artist, and Maggie Rogers just wasn't getting as much attention. And whether or not you think she deserves that attention, that's up to you. But I do think Heard It in a Past Life is just this raw album, and it just expresses different emotions very, very well. And Maggie is just so talented, and I love her whole story. I love how like she went to Alaska and that inspired a lot of the album. I like how she's very like visual when it comes to writing a song and takes everything into consideration. Heard It in a Past Life is just amazing, and I recommend everyone listening to that album. Falling Water is just, I think, I might regret saying this. I don't think I will though. Is one of the best songs ever written. I think I really do believe that. So yeah, Heard It in a Past Life, Maggie Rogers, amazing. The last one I'm going to talk about today, and I'm skipping some bangers because I want to make this kind of a series, is 30 by Adele. Now, I think I slept on this for a while. I was like, okay, Adele, you know, you had your Rolling in the Deep, you had your Set Fire to the Rain, you had your moment. Like, here we go, Adele dropped another album. Like, let's just, you know, the world's gonna stop turning because Adele dropped the album. It was true, like, that did happen, but sometimes when everybody likes it, it just kind of, I'm like, is this good? Is this really good? But 30 was different, like, than all of the other things that Adele had made. And there was so much like going on in her life that she wrote about in this album that it was just so raw and authentic. And I love like the little voice memos, and I love how her son was included on the album. I love like the music videos for this album. Adele's voice is incredible. Like, I think she's one of the best singers of all time, but when you listen to her older stuff, the production just doesn't match her voice. I don't really know how to explain that, other than like I feel like the production could have been better. But that's the thing about Adele, like she could just sing everything, and like the production could be, you know, mid, and we would look over that, you know. But with this album, like the production was superior. Like, it was so good, and it was incredible. Like with her voice, with the production, and you have to be careful with, you know, a singer that is really, really good, because you don't want to go in there with all these like effects and reverbs, and you don't want to mess up the raw, authentic performance from a really, really good singer. You just want to make sure that you're doing things that are enhancing Adele's voice. So I think every choice and every, you know, production thing that they did on this album was a good choice and the right choice to do. So let me know if these are any of your favorites. I have so many more to come. I just don't think it would be right for me to sit down and make an hour-long video about all of my favorites, because I don't think an hour could encapsulate all of my favorite albums ever. And these albums were kind of from like the past, I don't know, 5 years. But there are some albums that are from, you know, middle school and high school that I would love to talk about, and I would love to re-listen to before I do talk about them. So yeah, that is today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to follow me and check out my shorts. Not what I'm wearing, but, you know, the YouTube shorts. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you next week. Bye.